Good morning. We are day 15 today, and I just uploaded day 13 this morning, which I was supposed to do last night, but I just got too tired and went straight to sleep. So I'm gonna take today off technically, but I'm gonna film and we'll upload for tomorrow. That's the plan, so that I can be like editing the day before for the day next day, because I think that might be slightly more maintainable. But today is the day I bake my focaccia, and I want to look up a pear muffin recipe. So that is this morning's plan, and these are like snacks that I can freeze and then turn into either lunch rolls or muffins that I can take to work as a snack. So let's do it. Okay, so I've looked back over the recipe, and we're supposed to do what's called a room temperature rise for 3 to 4 hours. I don't have time for that this morning. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to deflate the dough, portion it like it says to, and then I'm going to put it in the oven with the oven light on, but not the oven on. I might turn the oven on like a little bit before and then turn it off, so that it's like, you want it to be between like 30 to, don't want to say 50, like 30-40 degrees Celsius. That might even, 40 might even be on the warmer side. And then it acts like a prover, so it should be a little bit faster than doing it at room temperature. So I'll only leave it in there for like 45 minutes. I also want to do my loaves smaller than hers, so they shouldn't take as long. And then we'll bake them. I'll preheat the oven and we'll bake them. So let's do that. So I have, it looks kind of like this, and I just want to take the edges and pull them into towards the middle. And you'll kind of see that it's got little bubbles over there. That's the yeast working, making the bubbles. We're just kind of doing that rotation, deflating it a little bit. Now I'm going to portion it because I want to do little balls, but I want to put them on the tray that I'm going to bake them on. So I'm not going to line it, instead I'm going to put some more oil over it. Just spread that out. I'm not sure I'll use the whole pan, so we'll just start by going to halfway there. Okay, and I'm thinking, normally you'd weigh it, but I'm just gonna, it's not really, it's too sticky for me to be able to bowl it properly, so I'm just gonna pinch and tuck and stick it on there like that. Okay, so I ended up with 5 of these guys, and I'm now gonna chuck them in the oven with the oven light on. So I'm looking for a pear muffin recipe right now. I just googled pear and cinnamon muffins, because I don't think I have one that I've used before that I like. But when I'm looking for a muffin or a new recipe to try, I go straight to the images tab. Not because I judge based on the photography. It can have a not the best photo, but sometimes you can see the inside of the muffin, and obviously I get a better idea of what I want and what I'm looking for. So I don't particularly want a muffin that's super duper pale. I want it to be a nice cinnamony color. I also don't want it to be really dry looking on the inside. I don't know, you just kind of get an idea of what a good muffin texture looks like, and then I'll pick based on that. Like, I don't want it to look too dense, I want it to look nice and light and fluffy. There needs to be enough pear through it. Like, you can get a lot from an image. I guess I'm also quite a visual person, so it helps me a lot. But yeah, that's how I pick my recipes. Ooh, do I do pear and ginger or pear and cinnamon? I found a recipe on Pinterest by Homemade Home. The recipe only uses 1 pear. I'm gonna use at least 2. And it also uses milk, which I don't have a whole cup of. So I think I'm just gonna take some creative freedom with this recipe. Use this as a like guideline and then put whatever I want in it. So there won't be a recipe for this. But I will make something again, and if you do like my recipes, I will attempt to write them down and give you a better recipe for it. But that won't be today. But we're making pear muffins. I'm gonna start with the flour. I'm gonna use the same amount she did. Now I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, a pinch of salt, one cup of sugar, and 2 big teaspoons of cinnamon. Just give that a quick mix through. Now for the wet ingredients, here's where I got a little creative. The recipe calls for a cup of milk. I only have half a cup of milk. So I melted 1 cup of butter. So we've got 1 cup of melted butter. That's also replacing the oil. And I've got my half cup of milk, which I will also, it's almond milk, I will also put in. And then I've got 2 eggs. Oops. I'm also going to add in a 1/4 cup of water. Just to make up for that little bit of milk I don't have. And the eggs can go in. I'm going to mix it. And then I'm adding the pears. I forgot to do this before, but you want to either line or spray a muffin pan. And my pears. I'm gonna add about the equivalent of, I think, 2 pears. All that's left to do now is to bake them once the oven preheats. Breakfast today is waffles with syrup, coffee, and an orange. I just pulled them out. They baked for 20 minutes, but we're going to try out my new cake tester. And it comes out clean. So these are done. I'm going to put them to the side and let them cool. We're going to bump up the temperature by 25 Fahrenheit. And then we're going to bake the focaccia. But there's one more step to do before we put them in the oven, and I'm going to show you now. Remember this guy that I made last night? Now we're going to use it. So normally I would use a pastry brush. If you have a pastry brush, I'd recommend using those. I'm just going to very gently make a couple little holes on the top there for the oil and the garlic to sit in. I don't want to deflate too much of the air because they've risen really, really nicely during our proving. And then I'm just going to start by putting about a teaspoon on each. And I'm going to rub it with my fingers. Because my hands are clean, 1 and 2. Pretty sure it's just going to be me eating these. Smooth it over, make sure I got it everywhere. To all of them. And these are ready to go into the oven. The recipe says that they bake for, what was it? 25 to 30 minutes, but mine were a lot smaller than hers were. So I am going to put them in for 15, then check on them, and then maybe they'll go for the 20. Please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you get notified when I upload. And if you want to see some more of my videos in the information card, I will link my Vlogmas playlist of all my Vlogmas videos this year. I'm 2 down so far, but I've hit my overall goal of 12, so I'm very pleased with that. While the bread cooks in the oven for a little bit, I'm going to try and get a tiny bit done on my assessment. If it wasn't clear, the pears I used in my pear muffins were the reduced pears from yesterday. So I spent $3 on probably close to 3 pounds of pears, so $1 per pound. And I only used 2 in those muffins, so they're very, very cheap. They're out of the oven. They actually have a really nice color on top of them. A little on the paler side, but the bottoms were getting very brown, like a little too brown. So took them out. They got a nice little bit of lift to them, and I'm tempted to cut into them, but I need to let them cool down a little bit first. So I cut one open because I wanted to see how it looks. This is one of the focaccias. It's beautiful, soft, light, and fluffy on the inside there, which is amazing. I would have hoped for a couple more like bigger bubbles, but there might be some bigger bubbles over there. And when I was cutting it, it's got a nice element of crunch to it. So I'd say overall it's success. I think I'm gonna end the video here. I just got home from work and it took me way longer to drive home than it should have. And that is why. I was driving home. Oh, focus. Please focus. Whoop. For the first time in a snowstorm. They're not that most pleasant to drive in. I was terrified. I was going 60 when I should have been doing 110. So I'm a little bit mentally drained, especially after 4 closing shifts in a row at a new job, and then on top of it driving home in that for the first time. Wild. It has been a wild day, but that is where I'm going to end it. I hope you've enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. Until then.
All I need are some better days, 'cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days.